Oh yeah, that's it. You just tuned in to the Digital Cartridge Podcast with Sean and Micah. Listen up as they deliver you the most epic show covering movies, television, video games, and wrestling. And now, here's Sean and Micah.
Knock, knock.
Who's there?
Not really. So what did Hulk Hogan ask in arts and crafts class?
It's going to have something to do with brother.
What you gonna glue, brother?
That's so fucking stupid.
I know. I figured that's the only reason I gotta open this up with a wrestling joke, since this is episode 20. This would technically be the end of our first season, even though it's in 2020, for our whole first round.
Yeah, episode 24, 2020. It works out.
1, 2, 3, 4, whatever numbers you want to add. I mean, we can just call it epilogue. I don't care,
Math.
But math, is it Common Core or is it traditional? I don't know.
Fuck some Common Core.
Yeah, I've tried doing some of that, and I look at it and I'm just like, are you really actually trying to make people dumber? Because this makes no sense. It doesn't tell you how to add. It just tells you how to put a number next to each other.
Yeah, it's real bad.
But if you're here, this is for the episode Ready to Rumble, the movie, not the game, even though some people are like, is it the game? I'm like, no, it's the movie. They're like, oh, okay. I'm like, all right, I see we're a little biased on this. But in other news, I'm Sean.
Hey, guys, I'm Micah.
And this is the Digital Cartridge Podcast, if you didn't already know that.
That's right. And mind your, I just lost it. Mind your wives, mind your ears, I forgot what the hell what that saying is. Hide your wives, yeah. I just fucked that all up.
Oh, I mean, it's cool. I mean, isn't that what you're used to doing?
Mm-hmm. Our day.
Was it keys, wallet, spectacles, testicles, wallet, spectacles, testicles, wallets, watch? That's what I used to say when I left the house.
That's Austin Powers, right?
Oh, I hope to God it's not, because I'll quit saying it.
Now I got to look it up.
Because I can't. I know some people love Austin Powers, but I think the first one was okay, but once it got on to The Spy Who Shagged Me and Goldmember did it for me. I was done after that. When he started eating the skin out of the little box, I was just like, I'm done. I can't do it. But I swear, if that's Austin Powers, I have to go back and tell everybody I never said that. It wasn't me. It was another Sean.
Yeah, that was 100% Austin Powers. Spectacles, testicles, wallet, and watch.
All right, so if I disappear after this podcast, just because I've gone on I hate Austin Powers binge. Man, I can't believe I've been saying that for years.
It could have originally come from somewhere else, but he said it in that too.
It better have, because like I said, I don't have a love for Austin Powers at all. And if we ever have to cover it, it'll be one of those ones where I tell you straight up right now, I hate it.
Supposedly they're considering making a fourth one.
They need to not consider. I mean, I know, all these movies these days are all about reboots and just no fresh ideas. And I hope to God they don't come up with nothing for that.
I mean, it's not like he doesn't have all that Shrek money to fall back on.
Yeah. I mean, what's the one where he's like, Mariska Hargitay? Every time he's like, that's what he says thank you as. What movie was that?
Is that Love Guru?
Maybe so. That
one was fucking awful too.
Maybe I just don't like Mike Myers. Maybe that's what it really is.
Sounds like it.
Oh man, I'm just gonna every time I see Austin Powers stuff, it just makes me cringe. Like I said, all because of the whole Goldmember thing.
Uncle Touchy's puzzle basement is going to become "Fuck you, Mike Myers."
Do you want to hear another wrestling joke?
Absolutely.
So Jericho, Hurricane, and Matt Hardy are in the same car. Who will drive?
Who?
A police officer.
See, that one, that should be Jeff Hardy, Jimmy Uso, and I'm trying to think of somebody else who's got arrested recently. That one needs to be updated.
I got one that you'll be able to answer. What did little John Cena say to his primary school teacher after she gave him his report card?
You can't give me a C, or you can't see me, or something.
You can't see me. These are almost like dad jokes for wrestling jokes, but
you want to talk about a bad joke? I beat and played all the way through Gears 5 this past weekend.
I started that game when it first came out, and it was good, but it felt like so much of the other Gears to me. It kind of turned me off after a while. So how was that?
Oh, it's like it felt like not a Gears game to me at all after the first like 4 chapters, because it's broke up into like 4 acts,
Yeah.
and there's like 4 chapters per act. The second act and the last half of the third act go entirely into like an open world thing, and that's like never been in a Gears of War game, like
Oh yeah,
that
most
type of
definitely.
open world. And I was like, well, I'm over this shit.
That's like, I know I don't know, but I ended up beating Star Wars Fallen Order Fallen Order, and I didn't pay attention that it was a 25 to 30 hour game. I was like, all right, it'll be a casual like 10 to 15, and like I'm going to like this one big boss, and I'm like, holy shit! I'm like, this isn't even nowhere close to being the end, and I finally knocked it out. But like, there's so many planets. You go to like I think it's 5 different planets you go to, and like I tried to 100% a bunch of these planets. I got to like 96%, and I was like, I can't travel this far into this planet to go just through this one little door to literally work back my way back and like have to fight all these bosses and everything, because the game was a little hard to begin with, but then it became super hard like Dark Souls, and like that's one game that instantly turned me off, because if I had died like 10 times fighting a boss, it's no fun to me anymore. And that's the way this became when I fought one of these bosses called the Ninth Sister. And she's huge, like the Hulk size. She's fast as well. Of course, she was trained by Jedi, so she has force and lightsabers and stuff, and she whooped my ass so many times I had to turn it like on super easy mode, and it still was kind of a challenge to begin with, and I was like, oh, this game's gonna just be hard towards the end.
That's what I was going to ask you, if it had a difficulty slider, because I plan on starting that this week.
It did. I mean, I'll give you some tips and tricks on where to like explore to get like the double bladed lightsaber, which helps out a lot, and I mean a lot. Which I kind of did some walkthroughs, because I was like, I need to know where I'm going to do so and so to make this game a little bit more enjoyable towards the end.
Yeah, that was my thing. Like, I sit down and I had that, and I had Gears 5, and I looked at average playtime, and that one was like 22 hours, and Gears was 8. And I was like, well, guess I'm going to run through Gears first.
Man, if you can do Fallen Order in 22, you're doing good, because like you climb through a lot of stuff and crawl through stuff, and you see another exit and you're like, I'm gonna go explore that area. And of course, like I started becoming one of those people that literally just pulls up the map almost through every section I go to, be like, oh, I can go left over here, I can go right, so I'll go knock that out and come back, because there's tons of little chests to open up. And your droid that you have with you called BD1, he is super helpful, but like you can't do certain things until you get upgrades later on in the game, and you're literally exploring the same place you went to and did over and over and over and over and over again.
So it's a lot of manufactured backtracking to increase that time?
Yes, because like your ship will land at the beginning, of the stage, and you'll have to go all the way to the end of this planet, or we'll say the other side of this planet pretty much, and you have to backtrack your way back. And after you hit a save point, your enemies respawn. So whatever enemies that you went through, other than a boss, you're going to have to fight over and over again.
And that's kind of shitty if it's all like forced game lengthening.
A lot of people have compared this to the game Sekiro. If I said that right, I haven't played it. Maybe Kyle Collins has from Experience Grind, possibly. I think that might be a game that might be up in his, games that he likes to play. But like I said, the Fallen Order, because I have the shared Xbox with my brother Bryce, so like whatever he downloads, I get the enjoyment of playing whatever he does, and vice versa. So I saw he had this, and I was like, I'll play it. And I kind of got addicted to it, because I was like, man, I'll stand up like 2 a.m. playing this, and I was like, I got to go to bed.
Yeah, that was like, I didn't even try to like get any kind of completion percentage on Gears. I was just, I'm going to push through it, get what story I can from it, and be done with it.
Oh, that's like me. Like my guilty pleasure after every Black Friday is buying whatever the current year NBA 2K is. So obviously it's 2K20. And my thing is just build a character, play a complete season, 82 games, try your hardest to sweep the complete playoffs and finals. And I'm at the finals right now, and I'm having to play. I'm on the Lakers, and I'm playing against Houston, and it's not fun right now, but I have no idea who I'm going to play, in the finals. But it's fun, but it's 2K17 was probably the best one, and this one has become hard, because you used to be able to like shoot a three if you had a good player that could like had like close to like a 90% shot release, and you get a green and you would make a 3. This game has no forgiveness, like none whatsoever.
Do you play 15-minute quarters when you play?
No, I play 5-minute quarters. If I did 15-minute quarters, I don't know how many points I would have, because right now I'm averaging as a player anywhere from 27 to 40 points a game on 5-minute quarters, and I'm still getting anywhere from 4 to 6 assists, a handful of rebounds, and maybe like 3 steals a game still.
Yeah, see, when that's my problem is I burn myself out. Like the last 2K game I had was 18, I think, or 19, but I always set it on 15-minute quarters, and then that way I can maximize my attributes and get the most points possible.
Oh, yeah.
But I get to a point where every game it's triple doubles and quadruple doubles, and by the time it gets to the playoffs, like, because I do the same thing, I play a full season, and by the time I hit the playoffs, I'm just like burnt the fuck out.
And I mean, it's fun, making your player, the better you would ever be to play basketball, and it's cool. And this year, I think I've done it before. I named myself White Chocolate just because you're like, a white dude that plays basketball generally isn't like the nerdy white guy. He's got a little, streetness to him. And so I was like, I got a purple mohawk and a beard. I mean, he looks good. He can play. But it was funny because Puma is now a sponsor on the game. So I was like, I'm going to let Puma be my shoe sponsorship. And that was the worst idea ever. Because when they started coming to offer me, like, incentive and money, I was like, I don't want any incentives. Just give me all the money. And they're like, this isn't going to work. So they turned me down like 4 times. And then eventually they're like, yeah, we'll give you $6,000 per appearance. And I was like, yeah, you will. Originally, I was probably going to make them go bankrupt.
See, that's the one thing I like with when I used to get Madden every year was going in where you could do like the team management mode and set the prices on like the stuff, like the ticket prices and that kind of shit, and see if you were making profit or revenue or whatnot.
See, the Madden games are nothing I've ever wanted to play because I'm all about throwing Hail Marys and just trying to get those quick touchdowns and blowouts, and it doesn't work ever.
Oh no, especially if you try to play that shit online, you will get fucking wrecks.
Oh yeah, little ping pong from China, we'll go over there and literally fist you all up and down the fucking field.
Yeah, 100%.
I don't, I'm not too much into football these days, like professional football, but I saw that the Patriots lost to the Titans, and me being in Nashville now, it kind of was like, I've never been a big Titans fan or, Houston Oilers before that, but I was just like, it's kind of good to see, the GOAT, which I will say, Tom Brady is a good quarterback. I mean, he's, done excellent things. There are great quarterbacks out there, but it was kind of good to just see, them get shuffled around again.
Yeah, have somebody different at least going further in the playoffs.
I mean, it's kind of like the NBA Finals where I'm like, oh, here comes the Lakers, oh, here comes Golden State. I'm just like, I'm tired of these super teams, going about it. I miss where it was like a real challenge. I feel like we just became a sports podcast.
Please no.
No. I mean, we talked about wrestling so far, football, basketball. All right, so what's next up on the hockey? No, I'm kidding.
If we could transition sports into a battle, and then a battle that transitions into Battle Mania.
You never know. That might happen one day. I mean, I think we've got always things in the mix on what we can be battle, but if they're in a series of 10s, there's always room. We'll just have to make sure there's 10 different sports that we can all agree on. And I think if we ever thought about having a super biased poll, that would probably be the one, because like neither one will be people that want to vote like probably favorite teams, and they're probably like, no, I want the so and so, and please don't say the Cowboys on football ever.
Battle Mania.
So Battle Mania, if you are familiar with our show, it is a poll that goes up against myself and Sean that we put up on Facebook, and we let you guys choose which of the choices we make as far as your favorite, depending on our topic. Last episode that we recorded, which was episode 19, we did our favorite Christmas cookie, and that was because that one released like Christmas Eve, right?
Yeah, Christmas Eve. I mean, it got, I have to say, it got a pretty good amount of listens for Christmas Eve. So, thank y'all for that.
All that traveling and listening in the car and the long drives.
Yeah. Mom, what does go fuck yourself mean?
Why are they talking about that kind of stuff?
Why is Santa fisting Rudolph?
Girls. So we did favorite Christmas cookies, or just favorite cookies in general, but we labeled it as Christmas cookies because it was Christmas and, relevancy. But I chose, and mine won, so finally got another win under the old belt. I chose Snickerdoodle cookies, and with the big fat L, you want to tell everybody what you chose that lost?
Yeah, I chose M&M cookies, preferably with the red and green M&Ms for Christmas time. And I was going to say, you know why Santa was fisting Rudolph?
To get some M&Ms?
That's where he hides his cookies.
Gross. That would be raw, like raw cookie dough.
I don't ever want to imagine this, but like I feel like somebody needs to draw this into like a little comic.
That's got to be salmonella or something.
I don't know. What is eating raw deer meat?
Death.
Yeah. Stank butt.
So like I said, I won on this last one with Snickerdoodle. We had a total of 60 votes, and I won with 34 of those. So it wasn't a huge margin. It was 34-26. But
yeah, which was funny because honestly, like I look at who votes on some of these, sometimes, and it's a lot of it was some of your loyal voters that generally vote on some of your stuff. They actually voted for mine, and then a lot of my voters voted for yours. So I mean, it was we don't know our fan base right on what we picked at that time.
Yeah, and they're gonna really like this one. This next one, I'm either gonna have a ton of people that are like, yeah, I'm gonna have a ton of people that are like, what the fuck.
Well, I mean, and it's funny because we haven't really, if we've gone through all these foods, and this is 10 episodes into it, I'm surprised we haven't really just picked this one yet out of all the random shit that we've picked.
Yeah, we'll save the best for number 20 in case spoilers, in case we change it again after for the next 10.
So what do you want to pick for this Battlemania? Winner, chicken dinner, Micah.
So for the next Battlemania, we are going to go with our favorite pizza topping, pizza variant, pizza favorite pizza. Let's just put it like that.
Yeah, because I mean, if we picked places, it would just be really weird because not everybody has the same pizza places, and all that stuff.
No, they're way more like we talked about that with like the fast food combos. Like pizza places are even more localized than fast food.
Oh, most definitely.
So we went with our favorite type of pizza, and since I won, I get to go first, right?
Oh yeah, that's winner's choice.
So I am going to go, and let me pull this up real quick because I have a feeling not everybody's going to know what this is because there are a ton of people who don't. And when I told them about it, they're like all kinds of confused. I am choosing taco pizza.
So what all goes on a taco pizza, Micah?
If you're not familiar with a taco pizza, let me tell you what all goes on a taco pizza. You start off, basically, instead of pizza sauce, you use like a mild taco sauce.
Yeah.
And then you've got beef and onion, and then mozzarella cheese, cheddar cheese. Cook that. When it comes out, then you put lettuce, tomatoes, and crushed Doritos on top of it.
Okay.
And then if you want to add more taco sauce afterwards, you can. You can use variants on the taco sauce to make it a spicy taco pizza. Homeboy over here has a stomach that barely survived the hot chip, so we go mild. But
oh man, I'm weak sauce. So basically, it's a Doritos Locos pizza in a way.
Yeah. And the funny thing about it is, my first job was working at a Godfather's Pizza, and I was there for 10 years almost, and they have taco pizza, and I never, ever, ever tried it because I made so many of them that it drove me crazy, just the smell of it. And once I got out and I tried it, I was like, man, I could have been eating this shit all along. What the fuck was I thinking?
That's funny. I never worked at a pizza place, and I don't think I ever wanted to. I mean, even being a delivery driver was nothing. I just really was like, I want to go deliver pizzas because I remember back being from Memphis, my motherfuckers were getting robbed and killed, delivering pizzas all the time, so it wasn't anything that I wanted to ever do.
That is exactly what I did, was deliver pizzas. And remind me to tell you a pizza delivery story, not about me, about somebody else that happened. I'll tell you that one off mic, because yeah, that one's real good.
That's too hot for podcast. But
What about you? What kind of pizza are you gonna go with?
man, I'm simple. I'm not like plain cheese simple, but I'm a pepperoni pizza guy. I mean, that's just my jam. I mean, I don't like complicated meats. I'm not a ham and pineapple guy. Because some people think that's like the antichrist of pizzas. Like your taco pizzas, I've had some of those before. It's too much for me. When I want a pizza, just man, like slam me a pep, man. That's all I need.
All right. So, question for you about pepperoni then.
Okay,
Do you prefer the pepperoni under the cheese or on top of the cheese?
on top of the cheese.
Because it's
Like-
crispy.
That and like the way that it'll curl up a little bit on the sides, especially if it's just if it's not too thin, it's just thick enough to where it just curls up and kind of just like makes its own little boat. And as long as the grease doesn't stay in it, we're good.
Yeah, that's the reason why I like it on top, is because if you put it under the cheese, half the time the pepperonis don't get cooked all the way and they're super greasy and everything else.
Oh, most definitely. And I'm really about light sauce though. I mean, because of the pepperoni, I feel like, and you get less cheese sometimes. And the pepperoni hooks it. I'm a light sauce guy, so if that's is a anomaly to it, if not, it doesn't matter.
One of the best pepperoni pizzas I've ever had is Old Chicago. They have the double pepperoni. Have you ever had that?
No, I don't like Old Chicago, honestly. I might have a little bit of a sensitive stomach. I think we learned that a little bit with the whole one chip challenge. But Old Chicago is one of those places, if I eat there, I need to be within like 15 minutes of the house. Like I might not feel so well.
Hang on, I'm looking up it's called the Old Chicago Double Deckaroonie.
I do know if you go to Old Chicago during a certain time at night that you will get like half price, or like it's cheaper after 9 or something like that, if I'm not mistaken, on their pizzas.
So what they do with this is they use like a deep dish and then put a layer of the pepperoni and like cheese and stuff, and then throw a thin crust on top of it, and then do another like sauce cheese pepperoni. So it's basically like you're eating like a super deep dish lasagna pepperoni pizza.
Okay, that's interesting.
It's real good. But back to the poll, back to Battlemania. Like I said, that is a Facebook poll that we put up. Episode always drops on Tuesday. Battlemania poll will drop on Wednesday. Typically do it that afternoon so that everybody's off work and home, and by that point, scrolling through their Facebook feed while they're eating dinner and avoiding their family. You can vote for your choice of pizza variants, pizza types, or if you have something that you prefer differently, you can tell us in the comments and we will tell you to shut the fuck up.
Ooh. We don't tell you to shut the fuck up, but I'd be like, shut your dirty little mouth.
Hey, meet me over by the water cooler. So, what's up? I gotta fill you in on what I've been watching. Oh, jeez. This may contain spoilers.
Have you watched The Witcher yet?
I've tried, but every time I look at Henry Cavill, I can think of Superman.
That's fair.
No, well, honestly, and this gets back to me, the whole Game of Thrones, it's the whole setting. It's nothing I can get into. I've tried. I started up twice with me being home alone, nothing, going on, just trying to watch it. And I just couldn't do it. Like, it's something about the setting, and I don't like it.
You have to so I was kind of bored at first. Like, I like it better than Game of Thrones because it takes all the political shit out of it. Like, Game of Thrones got super political, especially towards the end.
Yeah.
But you have to get to episode 4. Like, once I got to episode 4, I was hooked and I was finishing it. Like, I wanted to finish it that day because I made a revelation with what was going on. And I was like, okay, now I'm fully checked the fuck in. But it took me to episode 4 for that to happen.
I don't know if I can make it that far. I mean, I can try, but I just don't see it working out.
I've got a bunch of series finales that I watched since we last recorded, or series and season finales, I guess you could say.
Yeah, I think we both finished one, that we both actually liked watching?
Mandalorian.
Yeah, Mandalorian, man.
I was glad I went back in after we talked last time, and you was talking about how to get back through that next episode because it brought it back around.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I'm glad I went back and went back into it and didn't give up on it.
That's good. I mean, because like I told you, I mean, there was a lot to it, and there's a lot of people didn't like the last episode, really because of just some of the actions that were portrayed in it. As you had somebody playing one of the stormtroopers that was punching the kid.
Yeah, but I mean, that's being nitpicky. You got Star Wars typically does shit that not everybody's going to like, anyways.
Yeah, I mean, but it was Jason Sudeikis, that played that role, and I mean, those are fun little cameos that you do get, but some of the fans, were obviously just furious, that. But I mean, look at the time and age. I mean, it is what it is. I mean, they punched the little baby Yoda, which is the kid, and it is what it is.
The only issue I had with it is the tie-in to the Clone Wars at the end of it that I didn't fully understand, and I had to go in and read about it on the internet.
Well, see, I never watched any of the cartoon segments. That was kind of a time in my life, I guess I wasn't into it. I mean, I look at those like the GameCube ages, is what I like to call it, because during the whole like GameCube era in that timeline, like I wasn't into anything. I guess I was just working the whole time, and all I ever paid attention to was making dollar bills, y'all.
Yeah, I've never watched any of them either. So that's why it completely went over my head when it happened. And I was like, I saw an article and I was like, okay, well, I guess I need to read this to understand what the fuck that was about.
Yeah, because I mean, I went to dinner with a couple friends the other night, and he was like, yeah, man, did you like The Mandalorian? Yada, yada, yada. He's like, did you like, Rise of the Skywalker? I was like, yeah. He goes, have you watched Clone Wars? And I was like, no. And he started naming off all this other stuff, and I was like, no. I guess I'm, just a relevant nerd about it.
I finished my Office binge finally.
Oh yeah, did you cry?
Yeah. So it got the Michael's. Well, let's see. Hang on. I'll tell you there was probably four parts within the series, and it probably helps that I binged it, like for them to have more of an impact. Honestly,
true. Yeah, because if you watched it like when they released them, it probably wouldn't have been able to hold the same.
No, because I was firing them off. Hell, I finished season 7, 8, and 9 within like 4 days or some shit because I was home alone and just pounding through them. Jim and Pam's wedding was probably was the first one. Michael's proposal and Michael's farewell were the next two.
Mm-hmm.
And then when Michael showed up at the very end for Dwight's wedding.
Yeah, I mean, they're all very surreal moments.
Yeah, and it's just like you don't expect it to hit you because it's supposed to be this stupid ass comedy show.
Oh yeah, I mean, but it shows that they have more range, and it was funny because I don't know why, but I was watching Dinner for Schmucks the other day, and I was just sitting there thinking about Steve Carell playing this role, and I was like, he's got a wide range to it, but I was like, this movie is not my favorite, but I made it enjoyable as well, and all I could think about was you watching The Office the whole time.
And you talk about something else that's kind of impactful and nowhere near a comedy, though. The series finale of Mr. Robot, we talked about that last episode, how it was recording.
Yeah.
And the finale went through and put a nice little bow on the whole series. And like it turned everything that you thought you knew about the first 3 seasons on its head and was like, we've been kind of fucking with you the entire time, but here's what's really going on.
Well, that's good. Maybe I'll finally give it a whirl now that it's over and done with.
Yeah, it was really good. And then we sit down and binged all the way through season 2 of YOU. That's on Netflix.
Yeah.
That's real good too if you haven't watched it.
No, but I did. I wanted something to watch on Netflix. I was going to bed last night and I turned on. Have you seen the show The Circle that they've got putting up on that? It's kind of like a real world type of situation.
No, it's the one that releases weekly, right?
Yeah, I watched the first episode and I was like, I won't watch any more of it. But I mean, it was worth a laugh for a good 20 minutes of just seeing how dumb people are.
They can be fucking dumb. That's for goddamn sure.
Oh yeah,
You's really good. Like I would go in if you don't have anything to watch on Netflix. watch, especially season 1. Season 2 tries to twist it up a little bit, and it does an okay job, but it's basically about a guy who's like super obsessive, and like once he picks out somebody that he wants to date, like he goes full on like creeper status on them until he actually gets them. Like, it's the first season is real good, and the second, if you were going to say first season for retrospect, was probably like a 8.5 out of 10. Like, second season's probably a solid like 7.5, 8 out of 10. And they bring in the girl that is on Haunting of Hill House, that the Netflix show, the Bentneck girl. She's the other major character, like the actress, not the actual character, but the actress that played Bentneck girl is in season 2 of You.
Okay.
But it's real dumb. Like, her name in the show is Love. And so the main character's name is Joe. And he does a lot of like inner monologuing and talking to himself as he's talking to you as a viewer. And he's like, I want to fall in love with you, love. This is what it's all about, love. And like,
that becomes like possessive writing. It almost feels like. Yeah,
and I get where they were trying to go with it, but it gets fucking annoying real quick.
Oh, I can only imagine.
I talk about being fucking playing through Gears and being home alone. I watched all the episodes of Toys That Made Us too. Like, I just put that shit on in the background and had it going.
Yeah, I mean, some of them were desirable episodes, some of them I weren't, but I mean, they're interesting. Like the My Little Pony one was, I didn't think I'd enjoy it until, I figured out, the back history on that and stuff. And I was like, okay, I can really, it makes more sense, and I'll admit, I don't even know how old I was, but supposedly when I was 5, 6, I used to go down to some girl's house that I grew up with, and we'd play with My Little Ponies in her bathtub together. That's the only thing I remember hearing that story when I was young.
Some of them had some pretty good information, like the Power Rangers one tripped me out when they were talking about how like he sold it and bought it back and sold it and bought it. Like,
oh yeah, I mean, that's
homeboy's a fucking smart fucking businessman.
Oh yeah, he's extremely smart.
And then, of course, the only other thing, I started 60 Days In. Do you watch that?
No, what's that about?
So if you go back, if you're going to watch it, go back and watch, like, start at the beginning, because this is like season 6 or season 7. Mm-hmm. It's on A&E, I think is the channel that it comes on. Right. But they basically take 5 or 6, this year it's 7. They take 7 participants that are like volunteers. Like, one guy's a correctional officer, one guy's a policeman, one lady works for like at-risk youth, and they put them in as plants inside a jail, and then have them, like, nobody knows that they're plants, like the correctional officers, the inmates. The only people that know that they're actually plants inside the jail are like the sheriff and like the CEO, or not the CEO, the warden or whatever. And then they have to, their goal is to stay in the jail for 60 days and supply as much information as they can to the warden and the sheriff and everything about what's going on. And this season they started with 7, and in the first fucking episode, like, dude didn't even make it through intake, and he was already like, nope, tapping out, get me out of here, I'm out, I'm over it, I'm done. Like, he quit like almost immediately because he was so fucking scared.
Well, I mean, here's the thing. I know in Mississippi, there's been a whole big thing about the Vice Lords and Gangster Disciples fighting, and I think there was like 6 deaths last week in a jail. So, I mean, I don't know if that's really a good idea.
Last season, they had a guy that went in, and he was a police officer, like real life police officer, and his whole strategy was, I'm going to go in and I'm going to get in with the gangs. And the pod that he was in, he was part of I think they called it the Woods or something like that. Like, he was African American, and so he was in that little clique. And then they had the white people, the clique of white people, and then they had the clique of like the Mexican people. And like, he went in and he was like, that's going to be my thing. And by like day 40, day 50, like, homeboy was like second in command of like this gang in the like the jail cell. And like, real life, he was a police officer, but like, he was beating motherfuckers up like if they weren't following jail rules. Like, he was like, I'm fully invested, I'm fully in this role.
Yeah, but the bad thing is, like, once they get out, like, if your whole family gets murdered, that was on you.
Yeah, and I don't know how much there is of it is authentic, and they don't bring them in from like local either.
Yeah.
So like
It don't
the
matter.
one this season is I think it's in Alabama, is the sitting of the jail, and all the people they brought in is all like West Coast people.
I got you, but I mean, still, in the end, like, if these motherfuckers want to find you, they'll find a way. I mean, there's, gangs and mobsters are real life people,
Yeah, I mean you could really get fucked up, and I don't know if there's any kind of prize like if you get paid for being involved. So I'm sure that has something to do with it too.
No, if you win, you just get witness protection.
A lot of those shows though, like even if you're a participant, you still get paid because it's your time, and you know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, I think what if you get on the Price is Right? What is it, like $200?
Yeah, you get something. Like you're not sent home empty handed with any of it.
Of course,
Like
I did.
the Survivor's
Oh,
a
yeah.
sliding scale.
Yeah, that's your jam, though.
Indeed. Have you been watching anything?
Yeah, I mean, I did catch a couple movies. I mean, of course, I caught the Star Wars, movie, which I think we talked about it, didn't we? I think on the last episode, not mistaken. I didn't want to do any spoilers. I'm still not going to. I mean, that's just up for the world. But I did watch Richard Jewell, which was, based on the dude that found the bomb at the '96 Olympics in Atlanta. They kind of like the FBI tried to say that that he was the suspect. It was all him. And he had a lawyer buddy and all that good stuff. And the media, made it seem like Richard Jewell was actually the dude that did this, in which they, tried their hardest, and they did prove that it wasn't him. And it was a kind of it's a good heartfelt movie. If I'm not mistaken, it's the Eastwood movie that he did, which, of course, I know some people thought that, the last movie he did, which was that 1517 to Paris, if that's what it's called, they claim it was like a horrible movie, but it also had real life actors, real life people playing the actor, the roles. So it was maybe not the best movie to, do it as, but I mean, this was a very good one. But you have to take these type of movies, in consideration what you're going to see. You're going to see more of a documentary than you're going to see, a film or movie type of it as well. And I kind of double featured it that day. We caught Black Christmas as well, only because we watched it on Christmas Eve. Well, actually, I think we watched it on Christmas Day. The movie, I knew it was going to be trash, but I did not know it was going to be as bad as it really was. And I mean, I felt like I was watching a social justice warrior type of movie the whole time. I mean, there was stuff that I didn't give two shits to know about. And I kind of left the movie just thinking like, God, I mean, there's so much media that's been shoved down the throat of this movie that they're trying to subliminal message into you. It's just not worth it.
I haven't even heard of that movie.
It was a horror movie because, I mean, we had a Friday the 13th, I think, in December, if I'm not mistaken. And that's what, they were going for the whole Black Christmas thing. And it is what it is. I just wanted to spend some time, the movies, it's our thing, whatever. And I wish there was something else I hadn't seen because it was a waste of time. And there was a bunch of 16, 17-year-old girls and they're texting the whole time during this movie. And I was just like, why the fuck did you even come here?
Yeah, that's annoying as fuck. That's why I don't like going to the movies anymore.
Well, I mean, the thing is like, at least, there's reserved seating, but still, like, at that point, you can't be like, oh, I'm going to get up and get away from these people. You're stuck in your seat, though.
Yeah, that's when I was. And especially if you're paying, what's a ticket now? 10, 12? Well, not with your stuff. You got the pass, but like,
I mean, still, a ticket's
$10, $12.
If not more,
Yeah, I'd lose my shit over that.
Yeah, I mean, that's why, we do the AMC A-list because that's $20 a month. And I mean, for the price of a ticket and a drink, that pays for the whole, month pass. So, I mean, like I said, 3 movies a week, for $20. It's kind of hard to beat, especially if you double feature it in one day. I mean, you've already paid for yourself, for the whole month anyway.
Yeah, for sure.
But yeah, I mean, other than that, I haven't really caught up on anything else. I mean, it's been a lot of gaming, obviously, between you and me both, with the whole you playing Gears and me playing Star Wars. I mean, that's, 20 hours a piece almost.
Yeah, that's a lot to dig into. And then, of course, I've been hitting Call of Duty real hard, too.
Yeah, y'all have. I haven't found a liking of it. I mean, I've tried. I think that's been the whole time I've been playing my 2K20. Y'all are all teamed up playing Modern Warfare. And, I thought about joining in with y'all a little bit, but I'm so far behind, it's not even going to be fun at the one point.
No, you need to wait until Season 2 drops. That way everybody's rank resets.
Yeah, possibly so. It's just something about the way the gameplay is. It's not me. I even picked up and played some PUBG the other day just because I think I'm still third person, when it comes down to it.
Unless that third person is Gears 5.
And now, what you came here for, the main topic.
Let's get ready to rumble. I'm probably just going to get sued by Bruce Buffer now.
He doesn't even say, he says, what? Hang on. No, he doesn't say, let's get ready. He says, we are ready to rumble. And I'm like, that's not even the fucking line, dude.
I know. And I wonder if there's some kind of copyright infringements that he was doing against himself for the movie, possibly. Because I listened, distinctly to listen to that, and I could not hear it. And I was like, oh, man, why'd y'all do that?
Yeah, like they didn't want to pay him his own copyright fee to use his own tagline properly.
Well, I mean, I looked at in the credits, and and it says it's just pretty much the word "ready to rumble" is what his copyright is. That's
crazy because, that annoyed me a little bit. I caught that too.
Well, that one scene that they have for him saying that, I mean, they pan around him. I mean, it's obviously he's like, if I'm in this movie, you're giving me a 15-second short, and that's pretty much what it felt like. But Ready to Rumble is a 2000 American buddy comedy film directed by Brian Robbins and written by Stephen Brill, which is based on Turner Broadcasting's now defunct professional wrestling promotion, World Championship Wrestling, better known as WCW. The movie draws its title from ring announcer Michael Buffer's catchphrase, "Let's get ready to rumble," which me and Micah just explained to you. And the movie itself features many wrestlers from WCW. And first take on this movie, because it came out in theaters April 7th, 2000, worldwide. Did you watch this in the theater, or did you wait till you worked at the rental store for this?
No, I don't remember watching it in the theater. I want to say it was a DVD for me. Like, not far enough like movies, me working at Blockbuster DVD, like when it come out on DVD, like we rented it, or VHS or whatever the fuck was going on at the time. But I don't recall going to the movie theater.
Yeah, easily this movie was not something I even paid attention to that was at the theaters in 2000. I mean, obviously it was something I watched probably during like I said, the Blockbuster days. And if you watch that video I had earlier, I have it on a Blockbuster, VHS tape I was watching off of, which unfortunately has been watched so many times by other renters. It's got some tracking issues. So it made it a little interesting to watch it, but I still enjoyed it. Even though in 2000, we know this is DVD format time, so it was defunct itself down to VHS format. It is good, but you've got, a good starring cast of David Arquette, Oliver Platt, Scott Caan, Bill Goldberg, Rose McGowan, DDP, Martin Landau, Joe Pantoliano. I probably didn't say that right. Some people will kill me. It is what it is. I don't say good last names, but the movie itself, it kind of reminds me of a modern day dumbed down version. We'll say almost like Dumb and Dumberish. It's between, your two main characters, which is Gordy Boggs, played by David Arquette, and Sean Dawkins, played by Scott Caan. They're not the smartest people in the barrel,
No, they are 100% not.
Yeah. I mean, because Gordy, David Arquette, he's one of those people that believes almost that both of them, everything wrestling is actually real and not, like portrayed as a story.
Yeah, that's one of the first lines in the movie is they talk the cashier guy's like, wrestling is for hard R's.
Yeah.
And then the dad shows up and he's like, wrestling is fake, and he's like, wrestling is not fake.
Yeah. And and this movie, I mean, I'll say this against, WCW film is all this, for this film was for. And then you had your WWF films back in the day. And honestly, if I'm ranking these two between the two, this is better than a lot of WWF films back in that era by a long shot.
Yeah, 100%. Like, and it has like the thing I've started paying attention to when we do movies is the soundtrack, and this one has a really good soundtrack to it too.
Well, in 2000 was a great year for music as well too,
because you had Britney Spears, you had Kid Rock, you had Running with the Devil.
You've got George Clinton. You've got Papa Roach. You got The Offspring, Kid Rock, Run DMC, House of Pain, POD, Motley Crue. Yeah, I mean, you've got a killer soundtrack. But like I said, think about the Fast and Furious soundtrack when it first came out. I mean, it had a wicked one. Think about the Blade soundtrack when it came out. I mean, these were all eras that had when soundtracks were awesome, and now everybody's like, I'm not paying for rights.
Yeah, and I wonder how much of that was like movie production money versus WCW money, because like, and we can talk about this more later, but this felt like a huge WCW commercial.
Well, yeah, I mean, because George Clinton did Sting's theme, which the Jimmy Hart, Howard Helm music thing. And I mean, I feel a lot of it is, because even the Kid Rock, Ba Wada Ba, is a remix. So I think a lot of this, was WCW, cross promotion almost, we'll say.
Oh, 100%, because they eventually, and I sent you the link the other day, like in storyline for actual WCW television, they put the damn World Heavyweight title on David Arquette, like as a person.
Oh, yeah.
And then they even had like the main event of this movie, which is the Triple Cage, was a main event of a pay-per-view which David Arquette defended the World Heavyweight Championship in 2000.
And it's also got a lot of negatives for that Triple Cage match as well.
Oh yeah, it's garbage, but like you can tell how much they were using that as promotion, like cross promotion, both like hyping the movie and then the movie hyping the pay-per-view.
Oh yeah,
because they even on the pay-per-view they even call it their Ready to Rumble Cage match.
Yeah, because I was going to say, I know we're going to walk a little bit forward on this, but, in this Triple Cage match, the guy Chris Kanyon was thrown from the roof of one of these cages, and it actually paralyzed him. And, I think that's one of the reasons.
Is that what happened to him? I forgot. Like,
yeah,
I knew he got fucked up, but I didn't realize that's what happened to him.
Because, Jeff Jarrett beat DDP and David Arquette, defended the WCW World Heavyweight Championship to win the title. And in that match, Chris Kanyon was thrown from the top of that roof, and it paralyzed him from that.
I didn't realize it was from that. That's fucked up.
Yeah. And that's probably one of the reasons they're like, we got to get rid of this because it is dangerous. I mean, even if you think about it, like in the movie later on, I mean, if you've watched this, and I mean, if you see him falling off that top cage, I mean, it just, all it takes is, a little bit, a foot or two farther and you're over.
So getting back into the movie, like if you want to, before you run through like the
whole
the plot anymore, before I derail you again, like, what is the total runtime? Do you have that? It was like an hour or something?
107 minutes.
Because that, like, and this reason why I asked that question, because you explained in the plot, like, the entire thing feels so fucking forced. Like, it feels so jam-packed full of shit.
Oh, yeah. And I mean, like, this movie, like I said, had a lot into it. It had a budget of $24 million. And I bet a lot of that money went to these wrestlers, and the whole WCW production. And it only hit $12.5 million at the box office. So, I mean, it did right over, 50% of its, budget. So, I mean, the movie, luckily it's distributed by Warner Brothers. There's somebody that can take a loss, but still.
All right, no more derailing. I'm going to shut the fuck up so you can talk.
Oh, it's all good. So the plot for Ready to Rumble. Most of their lives, sewage workers Gordy Boggs and Sean Dawkins have been avid wrestling fans. When WCW Monday Night Nitro comes to their home state of Wyoming, they attend the show to watch their favorite wrestler, WCW World Heavyweight Champion Jimmy King. He gets cheated out of the title by Diamond Dallas Page. WCW CEO Titus Sinclair and DDP's partners. After the match, the two fans humorously expressed their rage in their septic truck, resulting in a crash. Now, this crash, Micah, is so overdone. So overdone. And I mean, it's...
Especially when the toilet paper truck comes in?
Yeah, I mean, that's cliche. I mean, they wrecked this this septic truck that, they basically, they go around sucking up shit out of porta potties. And literally, they're... I can't remember what they said it smelled like, but I mean, it was literally there's shit seeping out of the back of the septic truck, and the cleanup crew's there and everything. And this semi truck obviously jackknifes and runs into it, and toilet paper just goes crashing everywhere. I mean, it's funny, but that's how you also notice that this movie's corny. This movie's super corny.
Yeah, because it's not just like boxes of toilet paper. It's like individual rolls of toilet paper because that's how we haul toilet paper is by the individual roll.
Yeah, I mean, it had to bust out of the box, then it had to bust out of the cellophane packaging, and then it had to unwind its glued little seams, and there's 50 to 100 rolls are just conveniently flying over to this truck, which is probably a fun scene to shoot, all that toilet paper flying, but it is what it is. So after this event, Gordy believes that the crash was fate, and they should make King once again world champion. Sean agrees to help Gordy. The dim-witted duo, they go on a quest to put the king back on his throne. The next day, Gordy asks a friend to find out where the washed-up wrestler lives, which is the Shermanator. Which, Micah, if you know anything about hacking computers, using a iMac is not going to work. And they went to a web. What was the website they went to?
Hackersplanet.com.
Which was literally pretty much just Jimmy the King's, looked like his personal webpage. I mean, it had his address and all that other good stuff, but I mean, it was just like conveniently all in one place. But like I said, you're not doing that with the iMac. You're not doing that hacking. I'm sorry. You need, an x86 based computer. A little nerd talk. It is what it is.
And I love Shermanator's character. Like, my dad says I shouldn't play on a computer. It's for pussies. My dad says that's for pussies.
Yeah, it was a good role. I mean, it was good. I mean, that's high points in his career. So their friend succeeds, and they go on an unexpected looking neighborhood to find the king's estranged wife, which she says the only thing that he left me with was crabs, and she asked him if he would want to see him up close, and I was just like, this is getting a little creepy at that point.
Yeah, they pushed the boundary for PG-13 real hard.
Oh yeah, and so they find the king's estranged wife later, and his parents. Which, did you know that King's dad in this movie was actually Louis Arquette, which was David Arquette's dad?
No, I did not realize that at all.
Yeah, because shortly after this movie, he did pass away. So it was. I guess it was kind of surreal to have them both, in a movie together, in the end, because the Arquettes, I know he's got another brother, which is actually like a woman now or something. I think she goes by like Alexis Arquette. I don't know. The Arquettes are different.
Yeah, that sounds right. I feel like I've heard that before.
Yeah. So the parents tell them that the king borrowed their mobile home and never returned it. The duo find King in a trailer park, and they become overexcited, which, when they look in the trailer, they're like, that's a woman. And they go, the king's a queen? And I was like, here we go again. It's corny. Like I said, this Dumb and Dumber talk. I mean, these two they're dimwits, They have
it's definitely, it's got its fair share of one-liners.
Oh, yeah. I mean, there are some good one-liners, and I'm sure we're going to get to that in a little bit. And they have a conversation. When King says that he gave up on wrestling, Gordy and Sean anger him to the point where he suddenly attacks the two guys. They encourage King to beat him up, which influences him to return to wrestling and to go get him some beers. Gordy and Sean are, knocked out when King does his finishing move. So, it's what was his move called?
He crowns him. He jumps off the top rope and crowns him.
Yeah, crown him, King, crown him, which is probably my favorite line off of it. I mean, there's thousands in this movie, but it's probably the most memorable from this movie for myself. It's, I guess, a guilty pleasure for this movie.
Yeah, and his catchphrase to go along with it is, I will rule you.
Yeah. So the two men wake up the next day when the king drips beer on their faces. Later that day, the trio, they go on a road trip. Gordy sends letters to his father, who wanted Gordy to follow in his footsteps to be a policeman. Gordy says he will not be taking the policeman test, thereby frustrating his father. Gordy, King, and Sean go to the New York arena, where they hide King in a porta potty, and they meet Sasha, which is played by Rose McGowan, one of the Nitro Girls. She did a decent blend in for a Nitro Girl, even though you had some top Nitro Girls during that time. And when DDP mocks King on camera, King comes out of the porta potty and beats him up. First of all, Oliver Platt versus DDP, even if he was portraying a character, it's not going to happen. And so after that, Sinclair therefore declares a triple cage match for the WCW World Heavyweight Championship, plus $1 million cash prize. However, if King loses, he will never wrestle again. Which, honestly, when he was kind of cheated out by DDP earlier in the movie, he should never been, able to wrestle ever again. I mean, obviously that was like, kind of like your contract's over with, we're done with you, you're dead, you're washed up type of deal. But since they snuck in, and here's the thing, Gordy and Sean start fighting back there, with him. And no fan is going to put up against this.
No, if a fan started throwing punches backstage, they would get their ass whooped.
Because here's the thing, and I think I mentioned this before, when I used to work out of the French Riviera Spa, Sid Vicious was always there. And I looked at him and I'm like, there's no way I could take this dude down. Even though he's got little chicken legs, but I mean, dude's still, he lifts weights. I mean, he's a wrestler. Even though, I mean, it's still a show, these dudes can beat the fuck out of you. I'm sorry.
Yeah, if you really want to see some shit, like their videos of like, the first one that comes to mind is like Triple H and Stone Cold were in a match and a dude slid in the ring and tried to attack Stone Cold, and Triple H beat the living shit out of that guy.
Yeah, I mean, even though these guys have muscles, they ain't weak. I mean, these motherfuckers, they lift, they bench. I mean, look at Goldberg. Like, that's one person I would hate to get speared by because it's a signature move, and no matter what, I can guarantee you people have broke ribs and gotten bruised over the time. So if these two makeshift fans, go in a fight backstage, they're going to get their asses whooped.
It happened this past year at the Hall of Fame ceremony. A guy tried to run in and jump Bret Hart, and he got his ass fucking beat.
Oh yeah, I mean, even old Bret Hart, I wouldn't want to fuck with him. I mean, hell, I wouldn't want to mess with Vince McMahon. I mean, that dude's still a giant.
No, because the dude that tried to jump Bret Hart, like, what's her face's husband was there with her, Ronda Rousey. And her husband just waylaid into him.
Yeah, and he probably did that to make Ronda feel better. But so at this time, Sasha's impressed by Gordy, I guess, after the whole backstage brawl thing. And they go to her apartment. And that's when he's basically, King needs a trainer. And this is where they go to a local training center where King meets his former partner, Bill Goldberg. And you also get a surprise cameo in this, but you have to pay really, 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 really close attention. And it's probably better if you watch it in 1080p because you can really see who it is. And I know I didn't notice who it was until I watched it today. And it's John Cena. And this is way before any of his career ever started. And Michael, what was his name back then?
He was the prototype. He had like the bleach blonde mohawk.
Almost like a Terminator-esque, look to him. I mean, but he was ripped back then. I mean, he's still big. I mean, he's a big wrestler, He's a very well-known person.
That was when he was in, so before they had NXT, like, and their developmental stuff all in Orlando, they were using developmental out of Louisville, and it was called OVW, and he was in OVW. Yeah.
Nice. So, at this time, they also find Sal Bandini, which is played by Martin Landau, who beats up King. And this dude's old. I mean, he is old. And he's based basically upon the legendary wrestling coach Stu Hart. And Hart, was almost elderly, but still strong and still more skilled than a fraction of people his age, so which plays very well the way that Sal Bandini played this part. And he's hired as a trainer, but is hospitalized with Sid Vicious and Perry Saturn attack him at night, which is basically, by Sasha's doing because she's kind of a mole when she's dating Gordy.
Yeah, because she's using that dates this movie again because she's using a payphone to call Sinclair.
Oh yeah, so Gordy then finds out that Sasha has been spying on him for Titus, and then breaks up with her. They take the King to his wife home, where she kicks him in the crotch twice for abandoning his family, and his son comes out, and the King notices his bad teeth, and when he walks, and then who walks out after King to make his amends, and man, those boys' teeth were jacked up.
Yeah, it looked like fucking that scene from Beetlejuice where he's like, Beetle pop!
Yeah. So the King vows to his wife that he will do right after he wins the money to get his son a dentist. So when they try to get a new partner for King, Gordy's father intervenes by now. And he brings Gordy home and convinces him that his dream of working with Jimmy King was stupid while studying for the policeman test in his room. Sean and King try to bust Gordy out, and he refuses. I mean, like, at this point, he's just, it's just like a flip of a switch. He's like, wrestling's dumb. I got to become a cop, do what my dad says. The next day, Gordy arrives at an Entourage audition, which is thanked by King for everything that Gordy did for him. And these auditions were horrible. And you had the fireman dude that, which was it's a character, but I thought it was a little cliche because, the whole time Gordy is, on the police family, like, let's bring in a fireman, so there's obviously wasn't good writing for this. And you had the dude that was the spitter dude or whatever he was. And then you probably had my favorite character in the whole movie, which was Kitty.
The only part of that entire sequence, like that was made any sense and like that I liked was whenever the first dude climbs in the ring and he's like, "Come on, man, we all know wrestling's fake," and he hits him with a fucking elbow and he's like, "Did that feel fake?"
Yeah, and that's the dudes from the opening, from that one scene where they were in the porta potties. They came out and they were talking shit to Gordy and Sean at the porta potties before.
Oh, I did not realize that.
Those are the two dudes that were talking shit to them. So I mean, it's kind of like another cameo for them. But yeah, when she goes, he's like, "Honey, this is a wrestling, event, whatever." And that's when she rips off all of her clothes, and she's like, "My friends call me Pretty Kitty." And like when I was in 2000, I was like, "Yep, yep, exactly."
So, quick tangent: Pretty Kitty or Rose McGowan? Circa 2000.
So, I'm still gonna say that Kitty.
See,
Go back and put them next to each other. Go back. I mean, between the two, okay. All right, let's go back a little bit farther. All right, we're gonna go Rose McGowan, Kitty, or is her name Darla, the one that works in the restaurant?
The one that works at the taco the taco shop place.
Yeah.
You want to do a fuck, marry, kill?
Sure, let's go for it. Am I going first or you going first?
You go first, because now I got to really think.
All right. We will go fuck Kitty, marry Darla, kill Rose.
I agree. So,
it's a hard one. Those are the three. I mean, do I have to put, the Nitro Girls in this, dude?
No. I'm just trying to decide who I'm going to kill.
I mean, yeah, I hate having to kill people off, but I mean, it happens.
Because I want to say, you got to go fuck Rose. If you want stability and freakiness, you're going to marry Darla and kill Kitty, I guess.
I mean, it is. All right, I see how it is. Go back and look at that scene and zoom in a little bit further.
Rewatch. One
of the things I most of the time I said I've rewatched these movies twice before I talk about them sometimes, but this is a one timer. So like I said, they do the entourage. He thanks Gordy for everything he did for him, but like I said, he's going off to do this police test. No one, however, was to make the cut, so the King has to face DDP alone. At the WCW pay-per-view event, King initially is alone, but after he gets this horrible beatdown by DDP and his goons, starting with King's own son, Goldberg, Booker T, Billy Kidman, and Disco Inferno come to his aid, but aren't able, to get into the cage until Gordy shows up miraculously and crashes a motorcycle through the cage door. Which, when did WCW get this ramp? That's what I want to know.
They've had so that style set was whenever they rebranded themselves around 1999, 2000. And then all the shows will occasionally go from like a straight ramp to like the angled ramp.
Yeah.
But I don't know that I've ever seen a ramp that like moves up and down in order to like let him jump that motorcycle like he did.
Yeah, and honestly, he probably would have killed everybody in the match, in the ring, raking that motorcycle in there in the end. But it was, like I said, and that was kind of a surreal moment, for actually anybody watching the movie, because you get to see Gordy coming back. So Gordy and the others deal with DDP's posse, and defeat them while King and DDP climb the cage to get this belt. And this time, Sasha attempts to reunite him with Gordy, as the fans love him. But the whole time, Sean is saying, hey, Sasha. And, she's like, not now, type of deal. And she gets nailed in the head, with a ladder. He's like, you shouldn't stand so close during a ladder match. But I kind of felt that it was like some irregularity because this isn't a ladder match. It's a triple cage match.
Yeah, like, why was she inside the cage? Like, that annoyed me a little bit.
Oh, yeah. So DDP manages to throw King back to the mat, but he's knocked. They get to the top of this triple cage, and he literally just knocks King back, and he throws back onto the cage. And at this time, Sting comes and just knocks DDP down there. The two climb back to the top to fight it out, and King manages to defeat DDP, throwing him through the cages to the mat, knocking him out. King retrieves the belt and once again champion. After this, Sinclair is booed by the fans and then beaten up by Sean and Gordy, who toss him to the fans, who beat him up some more. Goldberg later asks King to re-team with him, but the new champ announces his new partner will be Gordy and their manager, Sean. Gordy's father watches the match on TV, and seeing actually how good Gordy is, he accepts Gordy's choice and even cheers for him. So the epilogue shows Sean telling kids dreams can come true back in the convenience store, where Gordy and Goldberg teach the clerk a lesson by hurling him out on the street for being mean to kids. It all ends happily as the heroes, ride off in a stretch Hummer driven by the Nitro Girl Shay, together with Sal, which is now fully recovered in a hot tub with the Nitro Girls Storm and Fire at the end saying, "God bless America." And the end credits.
Yeah, that hot tub inside the back of the end of the fucking stretch Hummer.
Yeah.
I was like, yeah, that was like so fucking 2000s Pimp My Ride type shit.
Oh, most definitely. I mean, of course, they try to keep it, a little up to date. They had the Georgia tag, because obviously that's what they said. The King lived was out there in Georgia and all that good stuff. So my number one issue with this movie is if you're putting this many wrestlers into it, why'd you even waste your time with Oliver Platt and actually just truly center it around an actual wrestler? I mean, I felt like having him being such an underdog and being, an actual champion in this movie for what it was worth, and it more revolves around, David Arquette and Scott Caan the whole time. Why even waste your time with Oliver Platt, Jimmy King? Just give me an actual wrestler, so it feels more realistic the whole time.
Yeah, as hard as they went with the cross promotion, like we were talking about earlier, where Arquette ends up being the actual champion for a while. Like, I think it was like 12 days or some bullshit.
Yeah.
But like, you could have, so TNA did this really well with a character, like cross promotion character. They had their TNA video game came out, and in the video game, your character that you played as in the story mode was a masked character named Suicide.
Mm-hmm.
And then they had that character show up on their TV tapings, and that's how they promoted the video game. And then that character was like an actual person under the mask and like won belts and stuff like that. Like WCW could have done that same thing. They could have took, somebody big or not and promoted them using this movie and like established them and made them a whole thing instead of using an actor, like you said.
Yeah, and I mean, this movie actually, it looks like it had corrections the whole time because, your character of Titus Sinclair, which was based on the WCW president and, executive producer, Eric Bischoff, but he was originally playing a star in the movie as the fictionalized version of himself, but, he was fired from WCW before filming began. So, obviously they had to, change that up. And during the movie itself, we talked about Chris Kanyon. He was Oliver Platt's stunt double during the movie, which was, the King. And then you had Shane Helms, which is, a very big wrestler still, I think, to this day, which, I mentioned earlier in a joke, the Hurricane. I mean, he's got many nicknames between the years, but, he was David Arquette's stunt double, which Scott Caan, he played all of his own stunts in the whole movie, which was kind of cool, which, I almost expected David Arquette to play all of his stunts since, he's a legitimate wrestling fan,
Well, and they pushed like as many wrestlers as they could into this movie because you've got a ton of like one-offs. Like you see Unmasked Rey Mysterio at some point.
Yeah.
You see Juventud Guerrero at one point. At the very beginning, you've got Macho Man, Randy Savage, when they have the dream sequence in the convenience store. You've got Sting, who makes a few appearances, but it's a rare thing. Sid Vicious. I mean, they pushed a ton of people into this movie, and I don't know if that was just to get them a payday or just to get them some exposure or what.
I don't know. For me, like, seeing Sting talk on camera, like that in a movie kind of was like, surreal to me because, you never saw him with a whole lot of dialogue even, during that time.
No, and the other thing that kind of annoyed me a little bit is like as much money as they spent, like we were talking about for like the rights for the music and the wrestlers and using the wrestlers like actual like registered WCW names and using WCW branding and whatnot. The name of the pay-per-view was fake because they called it the Royal Bash.
Yeah.
And then they didn't use Madison Square Garden. They called it New York Arena or New York Stadium or some shit like that.
Yeah. And I mean, like, we're talking about, just similarities in general. So the way that Jimmy King lost that title and when he was supposed to win, and, it's a spoof of the infamous, Montreal Screwjob, back in the WWF Survivor Series, which was, only a couple years before this movie, ever existed. And, and that's where Bret Hart was supposed to have, retained the title for Shawn Michaels, but was heavily conspired against the loss, in an unscripted manner. So, I mean, it makes a lot of sense, even the way they did this. And I don't even know if you knew that Rose McGowan said she hated her whole time making this movie.
Just because she had to be around wrestlers or because she actually had to do some acting?
Maybe because she had to do some acting, maybe she had to do some dancing and stuff and, choreographed stuff and, it's nothing she had to do. And, obviously, those Nitro girls knew those dances out loud and they're probably just making her feel like shit the whole time.
That one of my favorite scenes is like whenever he's in the bedroom with her and she takes her top off and he's foreign objects.
Oh, yeah. Because there's a part where she said she threw the script in the trash 3 times during filming.
That doesn't surprise me. Like, some of the stuff is super, like, you can tell it was either edited or it was written by like a wrestling storyline writer. Like, you could tell they had a hand in it on some level because some of it is just so fucking stupid. And then some of it is like very spot on stereotypical wrestling stuff. Mm-hmm. And then some of it calls upon some of the typical like wrestling stereotypes. Like stereotropes.
So looking through these notes, they said that Sasha, which was played by Rose McGowan, was based on Kimberly Page.
I forgot she was even a Nitro girl, to be honest.
Oh, yeah. But now, other than that, I mean, hands down, in 2000, 2001, 2002, whenever I first saw this movie, as a wrestling fan, I legitimately enjoyed this movie. Like, it does pretty good homage to, like, what you want to see as a wrestling fan. Like, this would be, I guess a dream state mind movie that you would, enjoy, growing up watching wrestling. And you had to be, like, you're my age, if you grew up in, like, if you were, born in the 90s watching this, I don't think you would enjoy this movie as well. Like, you have to be a true 80s kid, watching this movie in the 2000s to, get the feel and references for this.
Yeah. So like, I agree. And a lot of it for me, like there's one-liners today that still stick with me. Like if this movie's mentioned, like you've got the butt, or not even just one-liners, but moments like the butt finger Slurpee at the very beginning.
Dude, I mean, like, here's the thing, like as butt and dick jokes, still like that was still, like that crude humor is perfect for the 2000 era.
Yeah, and then the WWKD, like the WWKD bracelets that he made.
Yeah,
like that only applies in like the 2000s.
Oh yeah, most definitely.
And then the one like immediately if somebody mentions this movie, the diamond upside down is a pussy.
Yeah, like,
that's my fucking go-to.
Oh, I know. It's gone around for years, and I mean it's been a great line, and I mean it probably DDP probably never really cared too much for that one line. I mean, honestly,
no, but I wonder how many times he's had it said to him.
Oh man, probably thousands of times. Hopefully, you just don't do it during DDP yoga, and you'll be all right though.
That motherfucker makes more money fucking off of yoga now than he ever made wrestling.
Oh, most definitely. Did you notice though that the heavyweight title they used in the movie is an actual like palette swap of the original one, where it's all silver and with light gold instead of being all gold with a little bit of silver?
No, I didn't even pay attention.
Yeah. The inlays are totally swapped out. I mean, I guess it's probably just movie prop wise, or just to make it feel. Maybe they couldn't, WCW was like, yeah, we can do this, but you're not using this actual belt. You can use a copy of it.
We were talking about paying homage and hitting the tropes and stuff. Like he made the comment whenever King got beat, whenever DDP rolled him up or beat him up, that this isn't even a pay-per-view. Like that was one of the lines.
Yeah.
And like you hear that if you're on like message boards or on like wrestling websites or reading dirt sheets or anything like that, you hear that all the fucking time. Like people complaining that they're doing stuff like they're doing this on free TV. They should have saved it for a pay-per-view. So
Most definitely.
that's why I said there definitely had to be some level of like of creative, like wrestling creative storyline people involved in the writing process.
Oh yeah. Like I mentioned, like this movie, like I said, it's not good for kids. It's not really for adults. It was perfect for our 20s. I mean, this is like that mid-age movie where like this was like I said, the 80s kids ultimate wrestling movie where we wanted. I mean, it was obviously better than some of the other shit that, like I said, was out there. But in the end, and I mean, we haven't ranked it yet. I haven't got just to that just yet. But like I said, this movie was enjoyable for its age.
Yeah, and it hits the other scene that I didn't remember at all. Like you were talking about the crude humor.
Yeah.
Like when they were eating lunch and they were sitting on the back of that fucking truck and like the
And it's just
sewage
dripping.
was just dripping down. Oh, I was legit eating lunch while watching this and I was just like, nope.
Yeah. I mean, just it was even worse is when they're cleaning the porta potties and he pulls the rod back up and it's dripping. And it's dripping all down his sleeve, and then he like literally like takes his sleeves and like wipes his face off. And I'm like, you just literally wipe shit all over your face.
You were talking about the rewrites too earlier. Like you can tell there's edits and like rewrites and where they've had to go in and do reshoots, and like whoever edited the movie didn't do a great job because that scene where they're at the WCW where he loses, like the show, the Monday Night Nitro show,
Mm-hmm.
there is a fucking there's a table at ringside that he goes through and there's merchandise on it. Like, why the fuck would there be merchandise on a damn ringside table?
Speaking of tables, like during the opening scene fight where DDP, betrays the King, I mean, I know this as well as you do. Most of these tables that they're thrown through, the ring that goes around the table for the support is generally removed, so these tables break easier. And when they show him, falling through this table, it's still got that barrier ring around it. So I was like, whenever what Chris Canyon that played, Platt's stunt double obviously fell through this table, they didn't remove that barrier. So I mean, this table was probably a little more painful than the way they do it now.
They didn't gimmick it up.
No, they didn't gimmick it up at all. And I was like, I saw that and I was like, oh man, I was like, you just made this a little too real. But I mean, even though, we both know that wrestling, is staged, but still I'm like, that's, I hate to say, maybe that's why, later on in this times after this, he became paralyzed, I mean, weren't really paying attention. But I got one
like you said though, like the biggest thing for me is like, and it could have been nostalgia. Like it hits home for our age group, for our age range.
And this is one thing, and even that, why not? Why didn't they just use Chris Canyon instead of, Oliver Platt, for this role if you're making him be his double for the whole thing?
Yeah, they could have for sure.
And I mean, it probably would have worked out the same. I mean, it is what it is. I mean, you can change a character's persona that they play in real life for a movie, and it works out totally fine. We've seen it done 1,000 times. But I did, there's some casting, things that I thought was funny about this movie, which, David Arquette and Rose McGowan, they were love interests in this film, but, previously they played in Siblings and Scream. So it's just like, I know how you and I like to talk about, these alternate universes on how we try to match up movies, and how this. So, what if, Rose McGowan got knocked in the head and David Arquette got knocked in the head and, didn't know they were sister and brother anymore and it went into this, but it's weird seeing, actors play like, brother and sister and then they become love interests in the next movie, and you're just like, is this incest? You're my sister?
I mean, it is wrestling.
Yeah, that is it. And I mean, and see, even they knew where they were, like when she had introduced where she was from, he was like, I'm from so-and-so. So, they were from close. So I don't know. They still could have been siblings. We never knew it.
I guess the only other thing really for me, like before we try to jump into ratings or anything, like I love the fact they included bloopers during the credits.
Oh yeah.
Like that's one of my, like, no movies don't do that anymore because they save it for like DVDs and like extras on the DVDs.
Yeah. To get,
that was
for
one
the
of
sales.
my favorite. Yeah, that was one of my favorite tropes in like the early 2000s was the bloopers and all the credits of movies when they came out.
Oh yeah. And especially when Oliver Platt just straight up elbows the shit out of Macho Man.
R.I.P.
Yeah, I mean, like I said earlier, before we ever started recording, I was like, Macho Man still looks good in this movie in 2000. I mean, even though it's getting close to the whole WCW's declines time.
Yeah, I think like that was one of my favorite things about watching like Jackie Chan movies of that era is like all the fucking bloopers in the credits.
Oh yeah, man, Jackie Chan had some amazing ones. Maybe we'll get to do a Jackie Chan movie one day. I did when I was doing research for this movie. DDP did an interview back in 2013 with U-Shoot. He said that he was pitched an alternate ending for the film to Warner Brothers that would happen right after the Triple Cage match is over and the end credits are just starting to roll. Jimmy King tells Gordy and Sean that he would see them at the bar before heading back to his dressing room to get changed, only to see DDP waiting for him. Just as the two wrestlers look like they're going to fight again, he'd actually hug each other, with DDP forgiving him for throwing him through all three cages. And then Sean and Gordy enter the dressing room and are shocked to discover that King and DDP are friends. DDP walks up to the two boys and says, "Welcome to business, let's go have a drink," which helps put their differences aside. Which, it wouldn't have played right because, it made it truly seem in this movie that, DDP gave two shits about King, because when Sinclair, told him that his time, he was getting his chance, it made it definitely seem
he turned on him.
Yeah, good guy, bad guy instantly. So I'm glad that alternate didn't happen. But if you could have showed me like one of those, you still would have recorded that and showed it in the extras. That would have been fun to see for the most part.
Yeah, because that's almost a like
director's cut type weird thing.
Yeah, well, I was going to say the problem with that is for the entire story that the movie told, as stupid as it was. Like they tried to keep it like it was a shoot, like it was legit the entire time.
Oh yeah.
Versus like if they would have went with that ending, that's more of like a kayfabe ending where it was like it was all work the entire time, and that DDP was in on it the entire time, which would have made the whole thing of the of Gordy and Sean like not seem as legit. Like it would have just made them seem even stupider.
Oh yeah.
So I get why they would have turned that down.
I was gonna say one good thing about when Arquette did the whole promo thing for WCW, he really didn't he got paid, but he donated all that money to the families of the late Brian Pillman, Brian Hildebrand, and the paralyzed wrestler Darren Drozdov. So I mean, it had good towards the end, but like we said, this movie, I mean, it's a good homage to wrestling fans, but it's a little insulting at times as well.
Yeah, they were almost making fun of themselves at some point.
Oh yeah, I mean, they made wrestling fans seem dumber than what they really are, which I can't say they're all geniuses. If I just offended anybody, I'm sorry. Well, there's still some smart ones out there, you, me, and some of us listeners as well. But I mean, there are some of you, those podunks that are like, God damn,
Oh,
yeah, it's going to happen.
There are 100% some people that are Gordy and Sean too.
Most definitely.
Don't even get it twisted. I have been around them at some of the independent shows that Caleb used to do because he did some independent wrestling. There are 100% some Gordy and Sean's.
Oh, I've been to some that was up in North Georgia. I want to say I sent you a picture of the guy one time. He calls himself, he's like Ric Flair in a way, and he ran for the mayor of, I want to say it's Fort Oglethorpe, Georgia, or Dalton, Georgia, or something like that. And I went to one of those, and I was just like, oh my God, I can't believe this. Like, I can believe it, but I'm just like, oh my goodness, you gotta be shitting me, man.
I watched, we went to one of his shows. Where the hell was it? In Bowling Green. He had a show that he did in Bowling Green, Kentucky. And I watched a guy, like one of the heels come out. And of course he's going around, he's getting in people's faces and trying to get them riled up and everything else. And old man stood up, took his fucking dentures out and sit him in a seat and was like, let's fight. Dude was like 75 years old and was like, pull the dentures out and ready to fucking throw hands.
Yeah. Which was, and I'm just thinking about this and you talking about that is back when this movie came out was the year I graduated high school. I was working at a club in Memphis called Dittman Diamonds. And I know I've spoke briefly about this place in the past, but they used to have teen night, and I want to say it was on Friday night, maybe Thursday night. It had to have been Thursday night because Friday night would have been a normal club night. So maybe it was Thursday night, was teen night, and they would always have wrestling on one side of the club in there. And it was before, like it got late at night. And maybe that was on I can't remember. I'll have to ask some friends back then. But I remember all those dudes would be back there in what we called our dry stock area where, where you keep the cups and toiletries and all that stuff. And those dudes would just be talking shit. And it was always cool to see, local, people that were doing wrestling back then do that stuff. So it maybe made this movie maybe a little more surreal to me during that time, knowing that I was still around an active wrestling community, even though I wasn't deep into it as well.
Do you got anything else?
No,
as far as the movie goes, before we jump into ratings,
dude, I think we've pretty much covered this thing, from beginning of the reel to the end of the reel, if that's what we want to call it. I mean, because you've got, everything. We've mentioned everything except for the whole part where I think where Rey Mysterio actually hurt himself during the filming of this, during that tag team match part where he had his mask off. He actually hurt his knee during that time. But other than that, I think we've covered every single thing except for, giving, all the personalities, calling them out one by one, especially with your announcers, Tony Schiavone and Mike Tenay and everybody else and Gene Okerlund. This movie was just full of cast members, though.
Yeah, I think that was more just to get everybody paid, honestly.
Oh, for sure. But so, Micah, if you're gonna put this movie into your collection, into your ranking system, if you haven't listened to this and this is your first episode, listeners, we have a ranking system that we like to put this in our collection. We have a shelf, which originated as a 3-tier shelf, but it's become a 5-tier. So you've got your top shelf, which is basically your glass case on top of there, your most prized possessions, all-time favorite, like this is your go-to. Then you got your top shelf, middle shelf, bottom shelf, and we're just going to call it the guilty pleasure basket or the under the rug basket, or however you want to call it. So it's basically 1 through 5. And so, Micah, if you're putting this in your collection, where is the movie Ready to Rumble going in your collection?
Middle shelf, all day middle shelf. Like it is my guilty, stupid pleasure. Like it hits that Dumb and Dumber niche on top of my wrestling niche, perfectly. Like it's not something that I'm gonna watch like every time I see it on. Like that, it would push it to the top shelf if it did, and it's got some stupid ass shit in it. But like we've talked about, like it was for the time and when it came out, and nostalgia glasses has a whole lot to do with it. Like it's a perfect middle shelf. Throw it on and watch it once a year and still laugh at it and still get a kick out of it and still get to see a lot of the people that were big and popular in wrestling at that time.
Oh, most definitely. I mean, it's a collection of film, to get to see all these wrestlers like DDP, Goldberg, Bam Bam Bigelow, Booker T, Randy Savage, all, Sid Vicious. Like I said, I like seeing Sid Vicious. He got a lot of, screen time. And, like I said, this is a person I used to get to see almost like on a weekly basis because he grew up in West Memphis, Arkansas, which is literally right across the river from Memphis. So, seeing him like I used to see Jerry the King Lawler in Memphis it's a common occurrence. So, yeah, I definitely get where you get, like your go-to.
Yeah, and I think I appreciate it even more, like going back and doing the research, and because I wasn't like during the Attitude Era is what it was called, like 97, 98 through like 2001 ish. Like I wasn't a huge WCW person. I was more WWF, but like the fact that they spun it and promoted it and used it on actual like wrestling pay-per-view and wrestling storylines, the mark in me, like the wrestling fan in me, makes me appreciate it even more.
Yeah, most definitely. I totally agree with you on that.
What about for you? What shelf are you going with?
So this movie, as much as I truly enjoy it, it's a bottom shelf movie for me, and it's because I've caught myself twice doing this to this movie. During the whole time where after they go find King and go on the whole search part, I fall asleep basically until they're recruiting the whole, trying to get his sidekicks the whole time. Whatever that 15-20 minute stretch is in that movie, I fall asleep every time. And it's probably a section they could just cut out, where he goes to see his son, and meets his parents, to tell him about the whole, that they got the RV. That whole section, I fall asleep during every time. And if I didn't, I'd probably put it on the middle shelf. But something about that whole scene of this movie just is like, I just check out, you know. I'm like, all right, let me take my nap time break. And if I fall asleep during a movie, it obviously means there's something that disinterests me in it. So, I mean, that's where it is. But it's not going, you know, like in that basket to the side, because I ultimately enjoy watching this movie. Like, there are multiple scenes to this movie I enjoy, like the opening scenes, all the fighting scenes I really enjoy. But some of the whole bullshit that happens is just, it's irrelevant to the movie even.
Yeah, that whole like going back and meeting the son was like that whole 15-20 minute thing was for a 2-second payoff whenever they're in the match.
Oh yeah,
Like,
because But other than that,
yeah,
I mean,
it was really forced, and like the whole like the girl that works at the taco shop, like that whole scene of 10 minutes was for a whole like them having sex in the RV gag at the very end, so you could see Scott Caan's butt. Like,
you know, it's funny.
I get it.
You know, going back and you just talking about the whole restaurant scene. I'm talking. It almost reminds me of the movie Hot Rod when they're at the little drive-in section and they're talking to the whole girl there. It's the whole, you know, it's that one scene where they got to have somebody that talks to the fast food waitress part. And I mean, it's a scene that could have been cut out, but it does, you know, it revolves back around to it in the movie. But it's just like, I think you could have put something else and worked around this in a way, you know, if you really want to do the writing better.
Yeah, and you have to, even because it shows her at the very end, like you have to suspend your disbelief, because then it shows the pay-per-view being aired on the same TV in the restaurant that was a security camera TV earlier. Like,
yeah.
I mean,
Her name was Brittany. What did I call her earlier?
Oh, there was Brittany. Brittany was the blonde one, and then Darla was the one that he had sex with in the RV.
Yeah, I just couldn't remember. I was just like, man.
Brittany's the one that he was trying to get with, and then Darla's the one that he does get with.
Okay, cool beans. I wasn't 100% sure, but or was it Wendy? It is Wendy. Yeah, it's Brittany and Wendy.
I thought it was Darla.
I don't know. She looks like a Darla.
This movie looks like a Darla.
Yeah, well, yeah, because that's played by Melanie Dean Paxson. So at least we got the correction before, you know, I have to go back and show notes and be like, by the way, for everybody that was yelling at me. Yeah. Other than that, man, like I said, it's good. It's a good movie. I like I said, I obviously purchased it and it's on, you know, I have a Blockbuster copy of it. So, I mean, it has to have a little bit of relevancy to me. It's not only because I'm a Blockbuster junkie, but it is what it is.
I guess we can go ahead and stroll over into this outro so we can get the fuck out of here.
Yeah, it's the outro. It's the motherfucking outro. When's the last time you heard that?
Episode 16?
Something like that.
Yeah, a couple back. So if you made it this far, of course, as always, we appreciate you listening. You can find all of our past episodes that we reference quite often because self-promotion over at digitalcartridgepodcast.com. We do have links at the top of the page to all the old episodes, to our t-shirts. Yes, we have t-shirts. Yes, you can buy them. Yes, they are nice. And yes, there are sweatshirts too.
Yeah, especially because it's starting to get cold. I mean, winter is here. You know, winter, it's not coming. Winter has come, and it's come everywhere.
There are links to the social media that we're on. There are links to all the streaming platforms that we're on. And there is this even most special link to our Patreon. And if you click on that one, you can donate to us and help support our podcast. And I'll let you in on a little secret that I told Sean the other day that I was okay with. If you donate $1, you can come on and guest host with us whenever you would like.
Yeah, like Patreon gets first pick. And like, even if our Patreon listeners are listening, which I'm pretty sure you are, if there's a movie that you ultimately, or a game that you ultimately want us to do, let us know, because we're going to listen to you before we listen to ourselves.
But you have to have a laptop, Caleb.
Yeah, you have to have a laptop. I mean, I think a Chromebook would even work. I mean, so like, no, I mean, you just got to have an internet connection, a microphone with maybe some headphones, you know.
I'm going to mess. He's got a tablet, so I'm going to mess with, next time I'm over there, I'm going to mess with my tablet and see if it works on browser format in tablet. We'll see.
Good luck. If not, we'll just, you know, we'll find a $20 laptop and send it to him if he really needs to. Or he could drive his punk ass over to your house.
Yeah, we talked about it, but my nephews have been sick as fuck.
Yeah.
Like they went from like strep to strep and flu, back to strep, back to like they're sick as fuck.
That happens. I mean, I'm sorry. I know he really wanted to do this movie. I know obviously it's the last 2 episodes we've done he's wanted to do. I'm sorry. We're not going anywhere. So we're here, you know. And I was going to say, Micah, we actually did get a review on iTunes.
Oh shit!
Yeah, from Michael Leamy. I don't know who you are. Congratulations. Thanks you for leaving us a review. And it says, top-notch podcastery. Need a place to listen to stuff that will make your ears wiggle and belly jiggle? This is the place. So I thank you.
Ears wiggle, belly jiggle,
Yeah.
dick tickle.
Yeah. Do you want to listen to a podcast that puts a little chubby down there? It might top your hats and rest it on your dick and listen to Digital Cartridge Podcast.
If you would like to leave a 5-star review, you can find us on iTunes and do that, and we will shout you out on the episode as heard just now.
Oh, most definitely. I mean, we're on YouTube. I've been uploading our episodes to Facebook as a video, which has been supposedly doing pretty well. I don't know because I'm not sure how 100% the stats are. I have to go in and see how much a full listen for it is. But I mean, if you want to listen to it in video format, you want to listen to it in podcast format, there are multiple ways for you to find us.
If you want to interact with us some, we have a couple of groups on Facebook. If you enjoyed all of this wrestling talk, if you are a wrestling fan, as I obviously am, if you hadn't figured that out by now, we have a group on Facebook called From the Top Rope where you can go in and join. We share all the current news, and then we also go in and talk about current pay-per-views, current things going on. And then if you're in for some of those sticky dank memes, we have Uncle Touchy's Naked Basement.
This is Naked Puzzle Basement.
Naked Puzzle Basement. See, I done fucked it up.
It's all good. It's all good. I mean, as long as you're getting there and get naked. I mean, this is the stuff that you don't want Zuck to see, or you don't want your mom or your brother, or your girlfriend, fiance, sister, uncle, or anybody to see.
Zuck sees everything.
Yeah, Zuck sees everything. But I mean, if this is the shit that you don't want on your timeline, come in here, post it in there. I ain't gonna say no. It's okay.
If you would like to call and leave us a voicemail, if you have thoughts about this episode or any of the previous episodes, or you have suggestions on something that we should cover and you're not a Patreon donor and you want to be a cheapskate and tell us by leaving us a voicemail, you can do so. You can call us. It's 470-DIGITAL. That's 470-344-4825. When we do have voicemails, we play those after our outro music and respond to them in real time.
And if you can't remember the number, just go to your local glory hole, and it's probably written around there somewhere.
So now is the time that we usually tell you what we're going to do on the next episode.
Insert crickets. Yeah, I'm not going to tell you what we're doing. I mean, basically, the way we look at this, even though it is 2020, this episode ends our first season, so we're due for a wrap-up.
And if you don't know what our wrap-up is, go back and find episode 10 and a half.
Yeah. In between 10 and 11, there's an episode called The Wrap-Up. Listen to it, because we're fixing to do it again, and that's where you're going to learn all the juicy goodness on the next Battlemania, what we're covering, what we're wearing, what we're not wearing, and what else, you know?
And what season 2 is going to entail.
Yeah.
There may be something big coming.
Yeah. Do we dress up like furries? I don't know. What?
It's huge.
It's huge.
It's huge.
Oh, Caleb will like that one.
Oh, God. Don't even get me started.
Yeah. We'll leave that one for a voicemail. Other than that, man, I think we're out of here.
Yeah, let's get the fuck out. It's my bedtime.
Adios. Go to sleep.
Bye. Welcome to our shitty ass podcast.
Man, I don't know if Nerdy Thursday's going to like that.
They'll hear this like 2 weeks from now, so it's all good.